Hi, my loves, and welcome back to I'm On Your Side by me, Sierra Boudreau. Look, you guys, I am so excited to be back recording. It's only been like a week since I recorded the last episode, but I feel like so much has happened, and there's so many little thoughts that I've had come up that I wanted to share with you guys. So here we are. We get some time to sit down, to chat, to work through some things, and I'm really excited. So let's get into it. First off, just some little updates. So I posted on LinkedIn because I love LinkedIn, and maybe that's a weird thing to love, but I love LinkedIn and I love Facebook Marketplace. Those are two things I need you to know about me. So LinkedIn, I posted on LinkedIn finally that I left my job and that I'm working for myself as a full-time content creator. And I think that I waited so long to do it because I was nervous about the wider perception that may have on LinkedIn, because I think that LinkedIn tends to be very corporate, understandably so. And I also know that on LinkedIn, a lot of people have been recently laid off or lost their jobs. And so they're going on there like actively looking for work. And then I'm coming on there and I'm like, hey guys, I quit actually. And now I'm working for myself. So I posted on LinkedIn finally, and the response that I got was so warm and so excited for me. And some of my old coworkers reached out to me, like texted me, and they're like, hey, congratulations on your new podcast. I'm so excited to see what you're going to do. I'm so excited to see who you're going to grow into. And that just means a lot to me and reminds me that I really was with the right company for a little over a year, that by trusting my intuition, by trusting my gut, I was able to make a really, really good decision at the time when I, decided to leave my job before that and then get into that new company. And that the feeling that I had when I was ready to leave, trusting my intuition again, was right. And I knew that the right people, the coworkers that really did want the best for me, were going to keep showing up for me. And they did. So I'm really thankful for that. Also, Alex and I are going to Aruba at the end of the month for like 8 days. And one, I've never been to Aruba. And two, I was like, okay, 8-day vacation sounds wonderful, but I'm kind of a homebody. So I'm like, at what point in the vacation am I going to wish that I was home? I hope at no point. I hope at the whole time I have the best time. And I'm sure I will. I love being with him. I love being by the water. I love warm weather. It is about to get so insanely cold in Denver. I was looking at the highs and lows for this upcoming Sunday, so the day that this podcast gets released. I think the low is -1 and the high is 9. I am not cut out for that kind of weather, and I know that I should have thought a lot more deeply about moving to a very cold place. And I know some people in like the north are gonna be like, Colorado's not even that cold. It is cold for me. Coming from Texas, Colorado is absolutely insanely freezing. And I didn't think about the fact that I was gonna have to drive in the snow. I didn't think that much about ice. I didn't think that much about super cold weather. I was like, Colorado sounds great. Denver sounds perfect. I'm packing up my life and I'm moving, which we will get into on an episode. The decision that I made moving to Colorado and what influenced that decision and how I felt about that decision once I got here. We're going to get all into that in a later episode. But all that to say, I did not think that deeply about what it was going to be like to actually live in Colorado, because you go somewhere and you have like rose-colored glasses on. You're like, this would be so fun. I would love living here. But you go during the most picturesque times. You go when the weather is perfect. You go and you're hanging out with people either that you traveled with or like a couple of your friends already live there and they're established, and you don't have to think about the fact that you are going to have to get established yourself. So if you're thinking about moving, I just encourage you to think very deeply about it. But reversing, Alex and I are going to Aruba, and I ordered a bunch of swimsuits, and my first thought was like, oh my God, what if I don't like my body in these swimsuits? Like, what if I feel really insecure? Maybe I should be dieting. Maybe I should be working out more to get ready for vacation. And I want to remind us all that that first thought is not your fault. That first immediate thought that pops into your head is a reflection of society and culture, not necessarily a reflection of what you actually believe. Your second thought is your responsibility, though. Your second thought is what you really do believe. So my first thought was, I need to change something about myself. I need to be working out more. I need to be eating differently, all of that stuff. And my second thought was, no, your body is fine. Swimsuits are made to fit you. You are not made to fit a swimsuit. And like, realistically, what's the worst that happens? I have a role in a photo. Oh my God, the world's not going to end if I have a role in a photo. The world's not going to end if I am 10 pounds heavier, and it's not going to, be wonderful and gleaming and perfect if I'm 10 pounds lighter. My body is my body, and my body keeps me alive and healthy and safe. And I should have a lot of gratitude for that. And my thought should not always be, how should I change it to be better received by other people? Because in reality, other people are not thinking as deeply about my body as I am. That insecurity that I have been harboring, that nervousness that my body is not going to be as picturesque, quote, as I want it to be, like, I have to get rid of that. I have to move past that, because that is not the reality that I want to live in. That is not the brain that I want to live in. That is not the mindset that I want to live in. So I ordered a bunch of swimsuits, and I'm excited for those to come in, and I am really dedicating this time to just feeling my best. I'm going to work out the way that I normally work out. I'm going to eat the way that I normally eat, because that makes me feel good. I feel really good in my body right now, and I don't want putting on a swimsuit to change that. I want to put on my swimsuit and just look at it and be like, that's a cute swimsuit, and that's a cute body, because both of those things are going to be true. Also, just while we're catching up, I have been rewatching Yellowstone and Ozark depending on my mood. If I want something like melodramatic, if I want something that is borderline satire because it is so ridiculous, then I'm watching Yellowstone. If I want something moody, if I want something that's kind of like a long con is not the right word. I guess it is a long con considering the theme of the show. But something that's like a slow burn, that's the word I was looking for, then I'm going to be watching Ozark. And that's been like my winter thing right now, just flipping between those two shows. I started watching Beef. If you guys haven't seen it, it's on Netflix. It's about these two people. This is also old news. Like, I'm sure all of you guys are like, no, we've seen that. We finished that when it came out months ago. But I did not. So in case you didn't know, Beef is about these two people who get involved in a road rage incident, and then they become obsessed with each other. I think I'm on episode 3, and it's juicy, but I've been reading and people are like, it gets absolutely insane. So I'm really excited for it to get a little more insane. Last thing, I know I said that was the last thing, but this really is the last thing, which leads us into the rest of the episode. So I've been thinking about moving apartments for the last week or so. I got this idea in my head when I was out at dinner with some friends, and I was like, this is the area I want to live in. I want to move. And before that dinner, I'd spent a lot of time in that area, and I liked it, but I knew that there were things about it that I just wouldn't enjoy living in. But I got this idea in my head that I want to be closer to my spin studio. I want to be closer to my friends, so I need to be directly in that part of town. So I start touring apartments, and I'm looking around like, well, nothing is better than what I have right now. There's something lacking. Like, I don't like the gym, or I don't like the pool, or I don't like the unit, whatever it may be. I don't like the area. And there was just this point that I was driving around, and I was like, you know what? I think I'm actually really happy with what I have. I love my apartment. I love what I pay. I love the area. And the only reason that I am so like, I need to change things right now is because I get bored so easily, which is a problem that I need to work on, not something I would have put a band-aid on. Me getting bored is a result of constantly being online and seeing other people have more and more and more, and thinking that because they have more, I suddenly have less, which is not true. I saw this graphic on Instagram that it was done really beautifully, but it said, careful, we can actually, let me pull it up. I want to pull it up because I want to say it verbatim. It says, it's so cute. It says, careful, we quickly get used to most things and easily forget how amazing they are, which is, oh my God, so true. It's like I was so satisfied with my apartment. I was so satisfied with the area. And then I saw somebody have something, and I was like, well, if they have it, then I want it. And I didn't stop to think, do I want it because I want it, or do I want it because I'm jealous? And I don't want to villainize jealousy. I think that sometimes jealousy can be redirected into realizing that we're not necessarily envious of people, right? But we see something they have, and that feels like something we have a deep desire for, that we've carried with us for a long time. And I want to remind us all that if you can see it in someone else, that means you can have it yourself. But understanding the difference between that, seeing something that you want in someone else's life, and just yearning for someone else's life because it feels like it's better than your own, those are two different things. And this idea of yearning. I've been thinking a lot about that, yearning, and the actual definition, so that we're on the same page. And the actual definition of yearning is a feeling of intense longing for something. And I think there's been times in my life where I yearned deeply for the next step. I yearned deeply for the next thing, and I just was not satisfied. I wasn't happy until I got it. And it's not because that next thing was going to be magically perfect and wonderful. It's because I believed it was going to be. I had a very hard time, and sometimes still have a very hard time acknowledging that things may look perfect, but they never are, because things cannot be. It's prime example. I moved to this part of town, and while I may have a ritzier unit or whatever, I don't like that area. I don't necessarily feel my safest in that area. And I have 2 dogs, and there's not a lot of grass in that area. So letting them out would be a little bit harder because they don't like going on the concrete. Understandably, they've never really had to before. So things like that. There's not really a lot of parks in that area, and they love going for a walk around the park. Things like that I can disregard because I believe this thing is going to be magical and wonderful and beautiful, and once I have it, then I'll have no more problems. Things like that I disregard because I get into my head that once I have this next thing, it's going to be magical and perfect, and I'm never going to want for anything else, because once I have that thing, I'll be totally satisfied. That'll be the pinnacle, and it never is. And I think the thing about yearning is that it kind of starts to overtake your life. You are always comparing the things that you have to the things that you want. You are never satisfied. You are never fully present, which is something that I struggled with, I think, for a long time. Never feeling fully present in conversations, never feeling fully present when I was posting things online, never feeling fully present when I was out with my friends. And I really struggled because I was like, I want to be somewhere else. I want the next thing. And the thing that I had, I often forgot was the thing that I wanted so badly previously, and then ended up with, worked hard for, and then I'm there, and suddenly I'm looking around like, okay, what's next? And I start yearning for this next step, as if the next step is going to lead to automatic gratification, automatic fulfillment, and it's not. And I'm not saying that getting the things that you want can't be fulfilling. I'm not saying it can't lead to happiness. Absolutely it can. Getting the things that we want is something that is often a source of pride and a source of enjoyment for us. What I am saying, though, is that if you completely disregard where you are, you completely disregard the joy that you have with where you are, and then you think the next thing is suddenly going to bring that joy back, going to bring that fulfillment back, how long do you think that feeling is going to stick around? How long do you think that you're actually going to be fully present in that moment? Journaling has been a really big part of my life for a long time, and I'm very thankful for it, because in these fits of yearning, in these fits of wanting the next thing, craving newness, it's really helpful to be able to look back and see all the times that I wrote, this is the thing that I want. This is the thing that'll bring me joy. This is the thing that I'm working for. The thing that I was longing for, and then looking up and realizing I'm right smack dab in the middle of that life that I dreamed of. And how beautiful is it to get to see that in your own words? How beautiful is it to get to reconnect with a previous version of yourself and just say, look up, you have it, look up. You're here. And to sit in gratitude, in true gratitude, not gratitude for the sake of doing it to say you've done it, but gratitude because that is where you want to rest. Gratitude because that is what you want to be at the core of your soul. When I reflect on times in my life that I was the least satisfied, it is also the time that I spent the least amount of time resting in gratitude. When I couldn't enjoy what I had and I couldn't rest in gratitude for what I had, I was so quickly blind to it. I was so quickly ready for the next thing because I spent no time actually reflecting on all of the hard work it took to get there. And it's like I threw it out the window. It's like, okay, what's next? Okay, I'm ready. Okay, I'm rushing towards it. And I do think, though, that the universe, when you actually are ready for your next step, when you're actually ready to step into the next phase, the next thing, it provides these little tests for us. It says, okay, I've given you this, and now you're ready for something else. Let me throw something at you to make sure you handle this properly, because in in the next step, there is going to be something else. And I think we forget that too, that when we get to the next step, it's not all sunshine and rainbows and perfect and wonderful. There are going to be trials and tribulations waiting for us there that may be even bigger than the ones that we're facing right now. And I'm not saying, and I don't want you guys to hear me saying that we shouldn't want more for ourselves, because we absolutely should want more of ourselves and for ourselves. That is a normal human thing to desire and go after. What I am saying though is to live our lives with intention rather than rushing through it. If we can intentionally make choices for our next step, think and deeply trust our intuition. Say what feels intrinsically good to me, what feels intrinsically right to me, and then go after that rather than looking around and taking inventory of what everyone else has and saying, oh my God, I want that too. Learning to be satisfied is new to me and hard for me and really a test for me. And I think, like I was just saying, the universe throws little tests at you to see if you can handle this thing before you go to the next thing. And I think that every time the test of satisfaction comes up, I almost always fail it. And it takes me multiple rounds, multiple new opportunities that I know aren't actually right for me, but I just want to do it because I perceive that it's going to advance me to this next step that I don't even think that I want. I saw someone else have it, so therefore I want it. Every time that test comes up, I look at it and I'm like, no, I want the next thing. I know that you're saying I can be content here. I don't want to be content here. I want the next thing. I want whatever the next thing is. And then I go there and I get it and I look around and I'm like, wait, this actually doesn't feel good. This actually doesn't feel authentic or good to me. And I don't want to be here anymore, which leads to this constant cycle of yearning and craving and moving and going and going. And then you keep looking around and wonder why you end up at square one of this deep yearning all over again. It's because we're not living intentionally enough. We are not thinking what feels actually good to me, what is intrinsically honest and valuable to me, not because someone else has it, not because I saw it on TikTok, not because I saw it on Instagram, not because I saw this 15-second highlight reel of it. What have I actually always wanted, and how has that manifested in my life? I have always wanted a sense of security in my life, and I think that's manifested in who I've dated. I think that's manifested in jobs I've gone after. I think that's manifested in the places that I've lived. I crave this sense of security and stability. And for example, the people that I have found myself dating have all promised this, like, when I do this, then I'll get this, and then you'll have this. And I never really thought critically about why I was continuously going after men who promised security to me and not thinking about what it would look like to provide security and stability for myself. Why can't I be the one to be a soft place to land? Why can't I be the one with a great job and a great income and a great home? Why can't I be the one to have things under my own name? Why do I constantly want a man to give that to me? And when I really sat down and thought about that, my life changed drastically. I started to be able to make changes, take actionable next steps that led me to being the one to provide security and stability for myself. And now having a partner is wonderful and great and fulfilling in some ways, but it is not everything to me, because everything does not ride on the relationship. Everything rides on how willing I am to show up. And I think if we really want to get into it, when we constantly have a low sense of satisfaction, it is often tied to a low understanding, a lack of connection with ourselves. When we are constantly looking for something to add to our lives that aren't intrinsic to what we truly want, but what we've seen other people have, I think it's time to step back and say, okay, where am I getting that from? Who am I constantly drawing inspiration from? And does that actually sound like something I want? Or do I want it simply because it's been presented to me time and time again? I didn't talk about this online, really. I talked to my friends about it so much, but I didn't talk about it online. But there was about a 2-month stretch where I was really considering moving to New York. I mean, that was the plan. I was on Street Easy literally every day looking for apartments to live in that were extremely overpriced and a fraction of the size that I have now, but I convinced myself that's what I wanted. And I started telling people, and I started getting rid of stuff so that I could fit in less space and, going the whole 9 yards. And then I think that is really tied to what I just said, not really checking in with myself, not really having a deep understanding of self, and having more focus on what everyone else has, what everyone else is doing, and trying to fit myself into a puzzle piece that didn't really fit. And I am so thankful that I realized before I got there that I would be deeply unhappy there. Because you know the saying, wherever you go, there you are. I am not a New York City person. I'm not. I like to visit. I like to be in the energy for a couple of days at a time, and then I like to go home. I love the suburbs, you guys. I am a suburban girl down to my core, and I'd love to own a home in the next few years. And I think the winters there would really kick my ass, even harder than the Colorado winters, and never really feeling a sense of peace and quiet because the city is constantly buzzing around you, and also feeling like you always have to be doing more to keep up with the energy of New York City. When I really think about those things, I know I wouldn't be happy there. But for 2 months, I allowed myself to fully believe that is where I needed to be, not acknowledging that wherever in the world I go, there I am. There my core and my soul is. And would my core and would my soul be happy and fulfilled in a place like that? And the answer is no. And something that I'm telling myself a lot lately is just because they have it doesn't mean I want it. Just because it's available doesn't mean I need it. And I think that really goes hand in hand with the overconsumerism and the hyperconsumerism that we see online. Just because someone else has it, just because someone else is doing it, automatically then I need it. I have to be doing it. And then you show up to do the thing. You actually have the thing in your hands and you're like, this doesn't make any sense for my actual life. And now I have to figure out what to do with this thing, how to give it away, or how to backtrack myself back into a place that feels good and authentic to me, which can be hard when you're making really big decisions that can't necessarily be backtracked. I'm thinking about people who get married before they're ready to be married. You know what I mean? Like people who get married because it feels like the time to do it and the thing to do. You just graduated college, you're young, why not? There's nothing else to really look forward to. So I'm just going to get married. And I'm not hating on marriage. I think marriage is beautiful and wonderful, but I do think it is one of the biggest decisions we will literally ever make. And I do think that a lot of people rush into marriage because it just feels like the next thing to do. And you see everyone else doing it. Never mind, is this a person I want to spend the rest of my life with? Is this a person I want to raise children with? Is this a person I want to buy property with? And if I do get a divorce from this person, can I honestly say that I believe the divorce is going to be amicable? Or do I believe that the worst side of them, all of the red flags that I ignored and pushed down, are going to come up? Like, I'm thinking about the men that I fully convinced myself that I wanted to marry at a different phase in my life, and how overwhelmingly grateful I am that that did not work out. Red flags that I just, can't see them. It's not there. I have no idea what that is. That came up later, and it's easier to leave when you're just dating someone. It is a lot harder financially, emotionally, where you live to leave when you're, married to someone. I have this fear. I talk about it in therapy and I talk about it to my friends all the time, that I will never be satisfied. And I think that that's a fear that I started believing at a young age and carried with me for a long time because I never really sat down and pushed against it. It's just something that came up, and then I thought, okay, I'll never be satisfied. I'll always be wanting more. And lately, I've been understanding that lack of satisfaction is coming from a lack of connection with self. I'm not spending enough time with myself, thinking about my future, thinking about what feels good, thinking about what feels honest, and going after those things. I am letting what I see other people have, what other people do, overrule my life. And I'm not saying I've woken up in this life that I'm not proud of. I am so proud of and so thankful for this life. But I do think that I caught it at just the right time. I spend a lot of time on social media, obviously, as it's my job. And I think that I got into this habit of seeing some of my influencer friends get things, seeing some of my influencer friends do things. And I was like, I need to either have that thing or get that thing or do that thing because I'm seeing them do it. And it feels like I have to keep up with the Joneses, which is, let me tell you, absolutely exhausting. And I also think that it's led to a lot of over-consumerism. Things that, prime example, where I was saying, you see someone else have it and you see it presented to you so many times, you think that it's a natural fit for you. Things that I would buy that I'm like, I know, like skincare, I know this is not going to work for my skin. Clothes that I would buy, it's like, I just don't feel good in that. I don't feel confident in that. I don't feel comfortable in that. But I've seen it presented to me so many times, I think automatically, okay, perfect. Then that's what I need to be wearing. That's the skincare I need to be doing. That's the perfume I need to be wearing. You know what I mean? Like little things. But because we spend so much time online, constantly being bombarded with, I'm buying this, I'm going here, I'm wearing that, I'm eating this. So what I eat in a day is that's a whole nother thing that we're going to get into at a later date, but just absolute bad news if you ask me. This comparison cycle, and the only way it feels in the moment to stop the comparison cycle is to just get the thing. And then you get the thing, and it's not actually something that you want, it's just something that's been presented to you. And I'm really working hard on learning the difference between what I want and what's just been presented to me. And I think about when I was just a consumer of media, not even an influencer, literally just consuming influencers' content, just like people would consume my content now. And all of the things that I bought, all of the little places that I went, all of the things that I ate because I saw an influencer do it. And when I became an influencer, I started to think very, very deeply about that mindset, right? I was once a consumer. I understand the power of my words. I understand the power of what I share. I always say when I do a haul of anything, it is nice to have new things. It is fun to have new things. It can be exciting to get new things. That said, you don't need them. Just because I'm showing it to you doesn't mean you need to go buy it. And I say that because when I was consuming media, no one was saying that. They were like, look at this $500 Abercrombie haul. You need everything. I think the word need is really dangerous coming out of an influencer's mouth because there are people that are genuinely going to believe you and say, they said I need it. I then need it. I need to have it. And I'm going to spend whatever I need to spend to get it. Doing a $500 Abercrombie haul is not normal every week. Getting a new designer bag every month is not normal. Going to the store and getting whatever you want and checking out and coming home and doing a $1,000 Target haul is not normal. But when it's presented to the masses as if it is, it has really, really dangerous implications. As influencers who try to create this community, this sense of relatability, because that draws people in and gets them to stick around, which is wonderful. I do think that building a community online is a beautiful thing, and I am so thankful that I've gotten the opportunity to do it. But I have to understand that my actions, me constantly posting about the things that I'm buying, wearing outfits that add up to be $500, $1,000 plus, can be leading to the dissatisfaction that people feel in their day-to-day life. And I'm not saying that I am responsible for how people perceive my content and the decisions they make, but I do think that ultimately I have a responsibility to do what I can to protect my audience. And if all I'm doing is adding that disclaimer, I do think that disclaimer is important. I do think that disclaimer is necessary because when you are constantly scrolling your For You page and all you see, especially with the rise of TikTok Shop, all you see is people buying things and selling you things, it is so natural to start believing you need these things because people will, and it's very tactical. You need to have this thing, this $5.99 thing you need to have, this under 20 sweater that you need to have, and then you're going and you're adding to your cart, and it's like, yeah, maybe that original thing was under $20, but now I have a $600 cart, and this influencer saying I need it, and you really don't need it, my love. Being satisfied, I've learned, is an art and a practice, and it takes a lot of work, especially because we're in the age where being satisfied is not the norm, and I am working so hard on it because I cannot just keep living my life as if the next thing is going to be better than this thing because I worked so hard to be exactly where I am right now and I deserve to enjoy it. And I remind myself that what is meant for me is coming to me and what is meant for me will be there when I get there. I am not in a rush. I am truly, right on time for my own life. And my own life is not exactly what someone else's life is. My life is my choice with intentional behaviors, intentional choices, intentional actions that lead me to where I want to be. I am not lacking anything. I am not missing out on anything. I do not need to be yearning for anything because what is mine is coming. It's on the way. And I hope you join me in this journey to know ourselves better, to be more deeply connected with ourselves so we can make better, more intentional decisions. That's what I'm working on, and I think a lot of us could stand to work on that. To wrap this up, you're going to be fine this week, my love, but let's talk about it super quick. You're going to be fine this week because you're going to look around and take inventory of your life, and you're going to write down all of the things that you have now that you wanted so badly 2 years ago, and you're going to sit and rest in intentional gratitude. You're going to be fine this week because you're going to make decisions that feel authentic to who you are, not authentic to everything that you've seen online. If those two are the same thing, wonderful, but acknowledging that it's not always the case. You don't actually have to force your body to wake up at 6 a.m. to have a productive day. If your body feels really good and rested waking up at 8, it's okay to wake up at 8. You're going to be fine this week because you're going to acknowledge that every single thing that is meant for you will not miss you. There's no possible way it can, okay? You are on your way. All you need to do is show up for it. You're going to carry those things with you and you're going to be just fine, okay? I just know it. Thank you for joining me this week. I can't believe we get to do this. This still feels so exciting and so brand new to me, but so perfectly authentic to who I am. And I'm just thrilled that you would join me here. So I will see you next Sunday and we'll chat in between. Okay? I love you so much. I'm on your side. Mwah.